Hey everybody, Dave here from Dave Tries to Fix Stuff, channel dedicated to the repair, restoration, and resurrection of broken stuff. And in this video, I'm going to switch gears, no pun intended, and I'm going to try and fix something that has nothing to do with music equipment or electronics or anything like that. I'm actually going to try and get this mini bike running. You want to see if I can do it? Stick around, we'll find out together. So before we get going here, I just want to take a second to ask you to go ahead and click subscribe down below if you like what you see in the video. You can also click on the little bell so it can send you notifications of when I have new videos come up, because this video is actually going to end up just being part one of a two or maybe probably even a three-part series on this bike. So if you want to know when the next ones come up, you need to click subscribe. Also, I'm trying to grow my viewership, so it would really be helpful for me if you can do that. But anyway, stick around for the video. So I picked this little guy up off of a Craigslist or OfferUp ad, you know, same way I get all my other stuff. And the guy was asking not a wholly bad price for it. These things run anywhere from I think 300 upwards of, I don't know, like 800 bucks, something like that. And he was asking significantly less than 300 bucks. I still try to lowball him. Just because I knew it needed work, it's not running. And we came to a pretty decent price on it, to the point where once I get it completed, I think I'm still going to come out ahead. If I decide to sell it, I'll have I'll make a nice little profit on it. If not, if I want to keep it, which I'm thinking I probably will keep this thing. I got it for a screaming deal. So anyway, this is a what's known as a Manco Big Cat. And it is obviously kind of a, yeah, my dog says hi. It is obviously kind of a, I guess a generic version of the Honda Fat Cats. You know, it's got the big fat ATV tires on here and everything. But instead of having like a traditional motorcycle engine, it actually has like a 6 horsepower a 200cc like a pull start lawnmower style engine, obviously with a horizontal pulley on it though. So the guy told me that it did not run, said it ran the last time he put it away, but it doesn't run now. Looking at it, I mean, even from the pictures and when I got there in person, it's in excellent shape. The only thing that I can see, because I haven't really gone through it completely yet, let me kind of pass in front of the camera here. I haven't gone through it completely yet, but the few things that I did see on it that I knew were going to have to be fixed was, one, that the seat is like, you know, it's crackly. It's, you know, this thing is so dried out and stuff. I'm going to have to get a new seat cover for this. Or I just might have one, ooh, and the seat's not even attached. Nice, okay. Didn't even realize that. It's got, and also the other thing I noticed was the throttle cable is coming loose. I'm going to have to figure out how to get that to stay. It just basically, I'm going to need to take a couple things apart, get them cleaned up and all that. And I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with the engine on this. So let's take a little bit closer look at that. So as you can see, this is a 6 horsepower Tecumseh. I've never heard of that before, but I'll bet that everybody has heard of these and just me not. I mean, I know Briggs & Stratton, I know Honda. That's basically all I know as far as engines like this. But it's just a normal, you know, pull start. It's also, let's see, it's got a kill switch. I know I have a kill switch up here too. I don't even think there's any gas in it. And oh, and there's no carburetor. Shit. Well, that's not good. I've got this set of, yeah, okay, there's the carburetor right there. So I'm gonna have to take that apart. And I've got an air filter here. It's another part to the air filter there, it looks like. This is the chain cover, I think. This is the other cover to the other side. I think this, yeah. Okay, and then just various bolts and shit in there. The gasket. Let's take a little closer look at this carburetor here, and see what we're looking at. Let me go look and see what I can find as far as a rebuild kit for this, because this is not going to work as it sits. Okay, so I went to look up the rebuild kits, and they're cheap. They're really cheap. The thing is, I don't know if there's any other problems. I mean, something caused this thing to stop working to begin with, and I don't know if if that carburetor is the problem or not. But the thing is like I said, the kits are just a couple of bucks for like an O-ring and all that. But for like $11, I can get an entirely new carburetor and gasket set. So I just went ahead and ordered that, just to kind of cover my bases if the problem is with that particular carburetor. Because for, 11 bucks, come on. I mean, why buy a rebuild kit when I can have a carburetor that should be working come in and I can just put it right on there. So I went ahead and ordered that. The other thing I need to look at, and that's the thing, that's the only thing I ordered for right now. I also ordered, I lied. I also ordered some fuel line and a fuel filter. I also, like I said, I'm gonna have to check into this throttle cable. I mean, it works, but if I let it go out too far, it falls out of its seat. So I'm gonna have to address that as well. But I'm not gonna order anything else until I make sure that this engine will actually run. So I'm gonna get the carb. It should be in a day or two. Once I get that, I'll get this thing hooked back up and, make sure that the oil's good in it, make sure that I've got clean gas in it and all that, and I'll see if I can get it fired up. If I can get it fired up, great. Then I will move forward with, getting the throttle cable looked at, getting the the fuel lines changed out, all that good stuff. And then the one thing I'm going to have to look at too, because one thing I noticed when I was sitting on it a little bit earlier, is this brake system here. It's got a disc brake in the back that's got just a simple, looks like a simple, like a lever that will just pushes. It's not really a caliper per se. I guess it is a caliper, but it's not a hydraulic caliper. It just kind of forces the two pads into the disc. And when I'm looking at it, when I push this thing down, that's how far you have to push it down to get it to engage, it looks like. And when my foot is sitting on top of here, having to push down that far, it just isn't possible. So I'm going to end up having to look at getting this thing adjusted. Plus the fact this spring right here, this spring you can see right here, is supposed to bring that back into reset it. But when you push it down that far, it's doing it now. Of course, making a liar out of me. But I noticed that when I had it pushed down, it was really slow to return. So I might have to get a replacement for that spring. I'm going to have to adjust the levers on this thing and get it all, get the mechanism lubed up and all that so that everything flows smoothly. Because although it's important to want to get the thing running, even more important is to have the ability to stop. So I figured if nothing else, let's see if we can at least get a couple of these things figured out. I mean, there's a few things that need to get done on this that are fairly obvious. Like I said, this throttle I need to figure out. I don't know if I have to take the whole thing apart or. Okay, I'm gonna hop in here real quick and just kind of try to save some time. This whole thing with the throttle cable, I spent a little bit of time trying to figure out what the problem was with this, and went through a bunch of different things, and even ended up making the mistake of ordering another throttle cable thinking that this one was not recoverable. But that's just not the case. This throttle cable ended up being just fine. I just had to tighten it up, and I will actually feature that in part 2 of this little video series. So I don't want to spend a bunch of time showing the mistakes I made on this. Even though I don't have any problem showing mistakes that I made, I think it's a good idea, but I'm trying to shorten this video right now, and there was a lot of time spent on this. So I figured it'd just be better for me to hop in here, tell you what I did wrong, and tell you that I actually will be fixing it in the next video, and then we can just kind of hop on to the next thing. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so you can see now that this brake is actually stuck down in, it's stuck down engaged, in the engaged position. Because it looks like there is a caliper here, and it looks like on either side, well, on one side it looks, on the back side I can see some sort of brake pad. On this side I see what kind of looks like a brake pad right there, but it's not, it's like a, actually that's not a brake pad, that's actually this lever right here. Okay, so I'm betting as I push that lever down, that is supposed to, I bet there's a brake pad on the other side of that thing. Looks like there's a post coming through this part of the caliper, and there's probably a brake pad on the other side of that. And as you push this thing down, that's supposed to push that in and engage the caliper so that it squeezes on the disc and stops the bike. Let's see here. Try to hit all these areas that we've got stuff moving. Which, that's good that I've got this working like that, but I'm still concerned with the distance that I have to push this thing down in order to get it to engage. Because I can understand, if I only had to push it down like that and it engaged the brake, that would be one thing, but I have to push it all the way down to there, which means I'm having to take my foot off the foot peg and do that, which I want to be able to just press my foot down. So I have to see if there's a way to adjust this, which it looks like I've got some different pins here. Okay, so that seems much better. That seems like that's actually engaging that much more quickly and much more easily. I shouldn't have to, yeah, I shouldn't have to wrench it all the way down. So that looks like that's going to take care of the brake problem. But I'll verify that once I actually get it running and try to, move a little bit. I'm not going to actually take it out and ride until I know the brakes work properly, but I'll verify that everything looks right once I get it out onto the street in front of my house to try to, work it out a little bit. So the next concern I have is this gaggle of wires here. First of all, this guy's just hanging out by itself. I imagine it probably goes into one of these on this Molex connector. And I'm not sure what any of these are for. Obviously these are ground here. You've got a 10 amp. It looks like it's good. A 10 amp fuse that looks like it's going up to the headlight up at the top. I imagine this thing's got some kind of a dynamo or something that is going to be providing power for the headlight, and that's going through this one right here, and then this comes back to ground it. And then this one right here is obviously the on-off switch. These two. It's some kind of it's like a kill switch up here. So then that leaves this guy just sort of hanging out, and I don't know what he is for. So I am probably going to end up having to trace that back to wherever that goes and figure out what that's for. I think these things, like I said, there's not a lot about these bikes that I know. I'm pretty sure it's just like a Chinese knockoff of a, like I said, like a Honda Fat Cat. You know, I mean, but a Honda Fat Cat obviously has a motorcycle engine that's got a transmission that you can shift gears. This thing just has, you know, a centrifugal or centrifugal, depending on where you're from, clutch here that, you know, when the motor starts to turn, these two halves right here the weights in these things should bring this thing together and make this thing taut, which will in turn spin this thing. This also has a centrifugal clutch on it, it looks like. These are two different types of clutches, but they kind of look like they're doing the same thing, which then goes through to the other side and actually turns the sprocket, which then turns the wheel. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. The reason I'm concerned about how this thing is put together with, you know, wires that are hanging out and that fuel line and all that is the fact that I think these things were like kits that you would buy and you would just put them together yourself. They're not, I mean, they may have been bought by, you know, sales, you know, like dealerships and all that, and put together at the dealership and then sold. But I also believe that that a lot of these were just put together by the people that bought them. So that tells me that this, who knows what kind of friggin' maniac put this together, because normally you don't see wires just kind of hanging out like this. If nothing else, these things should be, you know, you should have a like a zip tie or something up here, and these things would be kind of just up out of the way and hidden so you're not seeing them, which I'm probably going to end up doing. I mean, when I get done with this thing, I'm sure I'll clean it up, and the paint's pretty faded and all that. I'm not worried about that though. I'll clean it, but I'm not gonna like wax it or anything. But I'm definitely going to make sure that all these wires and stuff are kind of up and out of the way. I don't want them to be down here where they can get caught up in, you know, in this clutch, or, you know, under, God forbid, one of these things comes under here somehow, makes it to under here and gets stuck underneath this drive belt. Okay, so it's been a minute since I worked on this thing. That is not the right one. I got that carburetor, I got a throttle cable, I got some fuel line along with a fuel filter, and I also, and those have all come in. I also got another brake kit to put on this thing, because I'm thinking that I need that I really don't know if this particular brake is going to work and is going to do the job that it needs to do with the brake system that's on here. Because, you know, I'm a big guy, and if I'm going to be putting around on this thing, that's a lot of weight to have to stop. So I'm thinking that I got a hydraulic brake kit that I will eventually put on this thing, and it's going to take a little while to get here. So I'll probably put that on after the fact. For right now, I think it's okay just to utilize the brakes that are on it just to get this thing going. And then I'm sure, like in a subsequent video, I'll end up doing the brake kit. I'll probably put the seat on a subsequent video too, because I want to just make this video about getting this thing running and you know, be able to get it out there. So that's kind of where I am. But right now, what I think I want to do is I want to try to, I'm going to crank this thing with the spark plug right where it is. Let's, oh yeah. I don't know how easy it is to see that. But that's got good, strong spark. Okay, good. So that's a good thing. So now I can put this back in. Well, I'm not going to put that back in just yet. But the other thing I need to check here, zoom back out a little bit. I have oil right there that I need to check. That is way above where it needs to be. I don't know how well this shows up on camera, but the fill line is right there and the oil is going up to there. So this thing is way overfilled on oil, which if we try to start this thing up with the oil in it like that, if this is like a Briggs & Stratton motor, it doesn't actually pump any oil. It just has a little thing that rotates and flips the oil up into all the parts. But it does create a little bit of force on that. And if you get too much oil in there, it could seep past the rings and make its way up into the head. And then you're burning oil and it's just a big friggin' mess. So. I want to check this again. See what this is. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off. Put it back in here and we'll see where we are. I might have actually taken out a little more than I should have, but I have more oil that I can put in here, so it's actually good. It's right between the fill lines, so we're good with that amount. I'm thinking about maybe dribbling just a little bit of some pre-mixed fuel down here. This is a 4-stroke motor, so you don't need a pre-mixed fuel. But not knowing how long this thing has sat without being ran, it might be a good idea to get. I have some 40-in-1 pre-mixed fuel that I might put a little bit down in here and see if I can just get it started with that. By pulling it, and if I do, it'll help to actually lubricate the rings and all that, because it feels like I have compression on this, but I'm not 100% sure that I do, or what the compression is. I don't have a compression testing tool, so but it'll give me a good idea if I can do that. Just see if I can get it running. So I think I'm going to try that real quick. Okay, so I'll take plug out. I'm going to put, well, you can fit down in there. I think that'll fit down in there well enough to be able to dribble a little bit of fuel down into it. And then I just want to do just that's it. That's all I want in there. Boom. So then I can take this back out, put this back in. I'm just going to get it in there hand tight. I'm not going to worry about tightening it all the way right this second. I just want to see if this is going to run. Put this back on there as such. Okay. So that's on there. Okay, good. So it runs. Okay, I'm going to jump in here again and let you know that this is going to be the end of part 1 on this video. I think this is a good place to stop. I do have all the footage ready to go for part 2, and I'll be putting that video out in the next day or two. We do get the bike running, so I'll do a little spoiler there for you. Make sure you tune into the next video so that you can see how I get everything going. And that should be it. So make sure you click subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Dave Tries to Fix Stuff. Thanks a lot.